My parents gave me my first phone at the age of 15. It was an iPhone 7 Plus. Back then, it seemed like such a big deal to me because everyone around me had a phone and it was simply a trend. If you had a fancy smartphone, you were deemed as a cool kid. I remember being so excited because my friends were fascinated with it and I loved being the center of attention. But the fun lasted only for a few days. Everyone had moved on from it and I was no longer the center of attention. Suddenly, having a phone didn't seem so exciting anymore. But I got addicted to everything it had to offer. Talking to your friends on Instagram for hours. Check. Taking pictures of everything I saw. Check. FaceTiming my friends, even if I saw them in school every day. Check. I was on cloud 9 from feeling so powerful with the help of a tiny device. I felt independent. I felt like an adult. Perhaps feeling like an adult at the age of 15 was the cause of the downward spiral I then experienced from that moment. I remember throwing temper tantrums at my parents when they wanted to spend time with me. I would tell, I don't want to spend time with you. If they wanted me to study, I would hide my phone under the desk and would pretend to study whilst I was actually using my phone. Does that sound familiar? This had led to many unhappy moments in my home where I fought with my mother almost every single day. And you know how Sri Lankan parents work. Well, I was so lost in my phone that I forgot who I was and what mattered to me. My phone had become my identity. Now, this may not sound like a significant problem to you at first. I mean, come on, every kid goes through a phase where they defy their parents. Every kid goes through a phase where they get addicted to their phones. But the question is, how many manage to realize that it's just a phase and grow from there onwards? Back then, I didn't realize this, but now I realize I wouldn't be standing here today talking to you at ease had I continued to rely on my phone to become my companion. Technology has advanced at a progressive rate where we no longer have to rely doing everything manually, but we have also regressed in terms of our social lives. We often misunderstand the difference between it being a necessity and an addiction. The term necessity means the state of being required, whereas the term addiction means being physically or mentally dependent on a particular thing. And sometimes this line becomes blurry to us. The age group which is most affected by social media are considered to be young adults. Statistics show that over 40% of these teens use social media on a daily basis. We often rely on social media to help us develop our friendships with other people online. But what we don't realize is that we have become distant from the people around us in our real life. When you're put under an instance where you have to interact with people in person, you don't know how to react because the setting is so different from what you're used to in the virtual space. Unfortunately, that is a sad irony we are left with because now you have social anxiety. Now, social anxiety can be caused by many factors, such as one's environment where they grow up in. But the internet has proven to have an intangible effect on how one presents their identity. And this starts from your teenage years. Now, just like the saying that every coin has two sides, social media has its dark side as well. Whilst it is a platform for us to freely express ourselves, it has also become a platform that is accessible to millions who are well opinionated. These people can put out their opinions as much as they want because of freedom of speech, regardless of it being positive or negative. So let me show you how this cycle works. As you grow on social media, you become exposed to many of thousands who can either make you or break you. Thus starts a constant cycle of worry on whether your next Instagram picture is going to have 1,000 likes, or whether your next political rant on Twitter is going to have a rift in the comment section. Depending on the feedback you receive, you either continue to freely express yourself or you shut down completely. You even become hesitant in real life to express your opinions because you're scared of what other people are going to say about you. It gets to a point where you make every one of those opinions a part of your identity. You succumb to them, you accept them, you become them. Which leads me to my main question. To what extent are teens affected by the internet?
We understand that internet has become a vital part in one's process of learning. It has become this crucial part of education where teenagers are brought up in this advanced environment. Students are able to enhance their skills such as critical thinking and reasoning, which is what the current society is looking for. Long gone are the days where books were the only requirement, and here are the days where skills such as critical thinking and reasoning are very important. But what we often forget is that children become attracted to what the technology has to offer on its other side. The usage of one's social media begins during the teenage years, where one comes across apps such as Instagram or Snapchat at approximately the age of 12 or 13. I started my Instagram at the age of 12 when I was in grade 8, and I was addicted to it. Something interesting I remember during my phase was that I was obsessed with the number of followers I had. I remember waking up every morning and looking at the number of followers, and I wasn't satisfied, which led me to downloading unnecessary apps where you could boost your followers. That had led me to over 1,000 followers overnight. Still, I wasn't satisfied. I remember feeling like a popular kid just because I had over 1,000 followers, but what I failed to realize was that half of these followers were fake. They weren't affiliated with me, they were bots. But I failed to realize that, and that is a sad reality that us teenagers are caught up in. And when that realization hits you, there's nothing left but emptiness. The real harm begins when teenagers grow into their adulthood. As they face the wrath of the world, and as being an adult can be demanding. As an adult, your primary focus is to survive each day independently. And you may have to rely on people to do that. But the question is, are you brave enough to do it? You might tell me, Tiranya, it is easier said than done. You often rely on your phone to get you through parties or meetings because you feel uncomfortable talking to new people. You aimlessly wander on your phone because you want to avoid approaching new people and making friends. You may want to look busy on your phone because that acts as a signal for others to not approach you. But what you don't realize is that you have now pushed away people who could have been potentially your next big break in terms of your career, or your next best friend, or maybe could be even your boyfriend. So, how do we get out of this rut that we have put ourselves into? Well, there is one way to tackle it, which is to cut the roots of the problem. That is to reduce the impact of social media in one's life. Now you may tell me, it's so easy. Take away their phones or cut off the Wi-Fi for 7 days. Does that sound familiar? Well, my mother tried it and it didn't work. It only did the opposite. I had never used critical thinking skills more than I did when I was in search of my hidden phone. Self-acceptance and self-love are two things which can help you defeat the battle between you and social media. These things cannot be learned or taught. They come when you develop into adulthood. And that is why your teenage years are the most important years, because you don't have to worry about things like how to survive each day. You are in a period where you can explore your identity. Parents, guardians, you have a bigger job which extends your primary purpose to provide basic necessities to your children. You are responsible to bring them up in an environment where they are surrounded by constant self-love and self-admiration. You will know that your child has a great deal amount of self-love when he or she does not stare at her Instagram post, checking for likes and comments for hours. We need to be taught that the internet does not define us, nor can it teach us how to make friends, nor can it teach us how to survive in the real world. We need to learn that on our own. And for us to do that, we need to stop relying on the internet to make us feel comfortable every now and then. The internet does not define who we are. We are our own definition. Thank you.